So now we finally want to start working and producing our project. As you can see, I've opened Access and I've opened the sailing database, and there are no tables. So this is the database that we will use, but we will create our tables in Delphi. Because I need 4 different screens, I'm going to start by putting 4 different panels on the screen, and here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we might as well use a 5th one to start our program off on. So I'm going to use these 5 different panels, and I'm going to align them to the client. The form is the client, so let's start with panel 1. Click on its align property and align it to client, and you can see that it has now filled the whole screen, and exactly the whole screen, nothing more, nothing less. Let's do the same for all the other panels, and you do that too. So I have now aligned all 5 my panels to the client, and I can move through them by right clicking and then choose control and say bring to front or send to back. I'm on panel 5 right now, so let's send it to back, and suddenly I have panel 4. Let's click on control, send to back until I get panel 1. So now we have panel 1 in the front so that we can work on it, and all the other panels are behind it, and this provides us 4 different screens. We need a menu component so that we can decide whether to show all boats or all owners. So let's start by adding a menu component. Here it is. Click on it, drop it onto the screen, double click on it, and we create our menu. The first menu option I want is one for owners, and then if I press the up arrow or the right arrow, I get the opportunity to get to the next one, and let's call that boats. The first option here must be to create the owner table. Then after that we need an option for show all owners, and then finally we need an option for edit or show an individual owner. Great. Let's do the same for the boat menu. There you can see that I've created those menus as well. Close this component, and notice how my menu item appears in the top left hand corner of my form. I'm going to change the caption of panel 1 so that it becomes an instruction for a user that starts the program. So let's change the caption of panel 1 to make a menu selection. Great, so this instructs the user now to go up here and do something. Let's also now rename our panels. I have panel 1 here. Its name should be, according to convention, PNL main, and let's go through all the others. Panel 2 we'll make PNL show all owners. Now you should go and rename your panels as well. Now that I've renamed my panels, the first menu option is going to be to create an owner table, and under boats to create a table boats. So we need to access the database, and in order to do that I need an ADO query component. That's this one over here, and I'm going to use one each for each of the 2 tables in the same database. And of course then we also need a data source component. Once again I'm using one each for each of the ADO query components. It's a good time to rename our ADO queries, so let's call the first one ADO owners, and our second one ADO boats, and we do the same for our 2 data source components, data src owners, and the same for data src boats. Our next step is to link our ADO queries to the database itself. Now remember, the database is empty, it has no tables in it. So let's select the ADO query for owners and go to the connection string. There it is. Click on it, click on build, and in my case I'm using an ACCDB database. That's this Office 12, and if you were using an MDB database you need that one, Jet 4. But this is the one for the ACC database. Click on next. My database is called sailing.accdb. I leave the rest as it is and I test my connection. My connection succeeded, so that's fine. Click on OK and click on OK again. So suddenly the string has been created. Now let's link our data source component to the specific ADO query, and we want ADO owners for this one. I'm going to do the same here, but you can do your own. So now I've renamed my components down here, these invisible components, and I've linked them each, the ADO queries, to the database, both of them, and I've linked these data sources to their respective ADO queries. Now it's time to start creating our owners table. And in my case, I need to create the owners table first, because every boat must have an owner. But every owner does not necessarily need a boat. So if we click on this menu option, we get to create owner table. Click on it, and here I can write the code. Okay, so let's look at the code for creating an owner table in my empty database. Panel show all owners is the panel on which we will show all owners, and I want to bring that to front. So that's the Delphi command to move that panel to the front and make it visible. This is stock standard Delphi commands in order to execute an SQL command. So close the ADO query, type in your text, execute the SQL command, and because nothing is visible, we used a message box to just show that it's been created. And now it's time to look at the SQL command for creating this table. So let's go through this slowly. Create table, and then TBL owners. That's the name of the table in the database that I want to have. Then these are the fields. The first field is an owner field. We use the reserved word counter here in order to make the owner field an auto number field. Then this must be the primary key as well. So up to there, I've created a table owners with an owner ID field, which is an auto number field, therefore an integer, and it is the primary key. The other fields I want, according to my planning, and here's my planning if I haven't shown it to you, my owner field must have an owner ID, a surname of short text, a first name of short text, an email, and a cell. And this is what my table boats must look like. So surname, I made it string 20, a first name also of string 20, and let's scroll to the right, an email of string 20, and a cell number of string 15. Sorry, email string 25. Click on the home button and takes me to the left. So if I run this, it should create my first table. By the way, notice this line that's been commented out. Normally we have an ADO query 1 or ADO owners dot open, but that will only display the result of my query. And in this case, a create table does not produce a result set. It merely changes the table. So that's why I've commented this out. Of course, if I were to use this, that should be ADO owners, not query 1 anymore. Let's run the program and see what happens. Click on owners. By the way, notice that this panel is in front at the moment. Create owner table. The new panel is now in front, and I get this message indicating that the table has been created. This is a good time to open the database and check if the new table is there. So now you can see that my database that was empty initially now has a table called TBL owners. Right click on it and go to design view, and you'll see that it has these 5 fields, and 4 of them are text and 1 is auto number. The details, however, clicking on surname is short text, and you can see that it has a field size of 20 down below here. And first name is 20 as well, and cell number is 15, and email has been changed as well. So let's close this view and close the database, and I'm back with Delphi. Now you must go and create or write the SQL and Delphi code to create your other table. In my case, it's table boats. So my program is running. Let's stop it. Click on boats and create table, and we're going to put the code in here while you write yours. Great, so here's my code for the second table. It's similar to the previous one, except that we need to create our second table, in other words, in my case, boats, so that it has the primary key of the first table as a foreign key here. So you will see that the SQL is very similar. Boat ID counter is my primary key, and then the different fields. Sale number I make integer. Let's scroll to the right. Engine size I make a real number. Trailer I want to have as a Boolean variable, and you need all 5 different data types, so make sure that you have a Boolean variable, and the way to do that is by calling it bit, or by using the word bit. By date is a date field. Owner ID is the primary key in my owner table. So I'm creating it as an integer in this table, and then the following instructions follow. There must be a comma, and now I say foreign key, in brackets, the name of this field, owner ID, and then which table does it refer to? References, and let me scroll to the right. References, table owners, and owner ID is the name of the field in that table. Okay, notice the syntax, and now we are ready to execute our command again. And if it works successfully, this is the message that will be displayed. So run it. We've already created the owner table. Now we create the table boats, and an empty table has been created. Let's check. I'm going to stop my Delphi program and open Access, and you can see that we have a boat table that's now been added. In design view, we can see that sale number is a long integer, and engine size is now single, and trailer is a Boolean with a yes/no field, and by date is a date and time. So let's close this view and close the database. So now, in terms of our menu options, we've done create owner table. We need to do show all owners. So if we click on this button, it should bring to the front the panel show all owners, and there we need a component to display all the owners. So let's go to that panel. Here it is on the left hand side, panel show all owners. It's not visible at the moment, so if I right click, I have a control option and bring to front, and now panel show all owners is visible. By the way, this is the caption of the panel, and I want to remove that. So there's the caption. So now there's no caption on this panel, but I know it's the right one because of that point over there. Let's put on this panel a DB grid, and I find that under the data controls tab, and it's this second one over here. Click on it and drag it as large as you need it. We can always make it smaller a little bit later. Change its name to DBGRD owners, the owners, and link it to the right data source. So my data source should be, there's 2 of them, but we know that we want to work with owners. So now that we have our visual component, click on owners, show all owners, and this is where I need to put in my code. And the code looks as follows. So here's my code. Once again, I bring the correct panel forwards, close the query, put in new text, and you all know this SQL by now. Select all from table owners, execute the SQL, and now there is a result of this SQL command, so we might as well have ADO owners open. Let's run this and see what happens. Click on owners, click on show all owners, and it brings up this empty data set. But obviously there's no error, the program hasn't crashed or anything, and this is correct because there are no records in the owners table. Close our program and do the same for show all boats. Put your code in here. So here's my code. I hope you remembered in your panels to once again put your DB grid in there and to link your DB grid to the correct data source. So just as a check, we've now, in terms of our menu options, done the first one for both owners and boats, and done show all owners for both owners and boats. So now we have only 2 menu options left to do, this one in owners and of course the last one in boats.